Now, exercise is an even more structured form of activity. It could be a specific task within work to learn a skill or to create fitness or stamina. And when we're training, we're combining exercise and work, preferably, in a planned program to increase a skill or fitness or stamina towards the goal. So that is really what training is about. At one time, one exercise can be part of training, but training is about the whole picture, and that is what I hope that you understand. So training should be quite methodical, and even within training, you can distinguish training for fitness, stamina, or for skills, and all require a different method and a combination of exercise to get the desired result. So I hope that is reasonably clear. And what I find is there is quite a substantial difference as well between how we train for skills. And I'm just going to check whether I'm recording. Yeah, I am recording. Usually it has a little notification that I'm recording, but it's not, but maybe for you. So training for skills such as dressage, learning to do piaffe passage or whatever, or just executing a nice circle, or training to jump correctly over increasingly high jumps, and how we train for fitness or even longer distance stamina can be quite different in the way that we approach it, but also in what we need to address. So in this webinar, we will address training for long distance fitness. We are endurance riders, or perhaps we want to be endurance riders after all. So when I talk about training in these webinars, we are thinking of adapting the body to be able to perform in a certain gait, in a certain intensity for a longer period of time. Because let's face it, how long does a dressage test last? How long does a show jumping effort last? How long does an event course last, or a race course? We're really the ones that are looking for stamina. Even at the shortest endurance distances there are, we are often longer, working our horses for a longer period of time than all of the other sports. So training for skills is slightly different to training for stamina. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't use those skills to improve the way of our horses going, but for skills, that is more of a combination of mental and physical training. We have to explain the horse what we want it to do in a certain kind of movement, and that is really a different way of getting the horse to ask for something that requires more strength. For instance, if we're sprinting, that is more of a strength and speed exercise than what we're wanting with stamina. So again, endurance training, we can train for stamina, speed, strength, suppleness, skills, and training for one, again, is not the same for the others. But it's good to be aware of what your main objective is, especially when we're training for long during stamina like we are in endurance. So stamina is really what we want to work on when we want to get a fit horse. We want an increased cardiovascular fitness. And cardiovascular fitness, often shortened to cardio, is sustained and physical activity relates to the heart, lungs, and muscles being able to do more work. Now, you do need cardiovascular fitness for eventing and racing, and to some extent also for show jumping and dressage, but we're really looking for a more increased cardiovascular fitness. But these are for a higher intensity. So eventing and racing is a higher intensity. So the horses are, gosh, I actually measured the speeds. So they do that in meter per second and stuff like that, pace. I was like, I translated that back to kilometers an hour. I was like, oh my God, I don't even get that. But at the same time, we're going for such a much longer period of time. Same with a racing horse. I mean, I would never be able to keep up with a racehorse, but they will never be able to keep up with us for such a long distance. So that is a complete different focus on intensity and speed. So we want a lower intensity but sustained for very long periods, and that needs a different approach because we use different fuel pathways for our horses. And we talked a little bit about that last time. So when you get increased cardiovascular fitness, physiological parameters such as heart rate, stroke volume, cardiac output, and maximum oxygen consumption are improved. And that is given the body the ability to do more with less effort than before. So if a horse gets fitter, it can do the same work as it could before, but it's taking it less effort. And it's not as hard, and it doesn't get as fatigued and everything. So that it means that you have increased the fitness of your horse. And basically that is what you need to understand, is that intensity in that way is not static. Nothing is static with a horse. So the intensity of work, an unfit horse can find the intensity of 30 minutes trotting quite high, whereas a fit horse will find that very, very easy. And that is what we need to keep an eye on. So with racing, eventing, and endurance, they're all cardiovascular activity, but the intensity and the duration is different. And that is where we see that a lot of mistakes are being made in the training of endurance horses. For endurance, we really need that prolonged and steady work, and people want to go fast too quickly. How would you train them for strength, suppleness, or skills? And I see those as very much complementary to our stamina training, and they are part of what I call quality training. And for me, that goes hand in hand. So if we do not have a fit horse, we will not complete our distance. But if we do not have a horse that is supple and is symmetric and is able to come off the forehand and is able to tackle muddy bits in a balanced way, and so on, and so on, and so on, and has control, we will probably struggle or might have an injury later on. So from now on, when I talk about training, I'm talking about the quantitative aspect of stamina training, the amount of work we do and how we increase that. And that is what we're going to focus on mostly on this webinar. So that doesn't mean that the quality is not important. The quality is crucial as far as I'm concerned, but it needs to go hand in hand with the quantity to get a healthy, strong, adaptable, and fit equine athlete. I love the term equine athlete. Working on strength, suppleness, and skill should be part of our work, not only in the arena, but also during our quantitative training. We cannot do one on one part of our work and the other and forget about it when we're doing our long distance training. That needs to be incorporated. So that is super, super, super important. That doesn't mean that we can focus separately on some weak links, on certain aspects that we feel that need to improve before we increase training again, and that we can do in our arena, or we can do that lunging, or we can, you know, even work in the field. And also our rider skills are crucial. Keep improving those. Don't feel that because you're an endurance rider, you don't have to focus on your flat work, because we are very, very, very important into guiding our horses to do well. And what is also important is how we feel in our minds. Our mindset needs to be right. If we are just a passenger on our horse, we will not get the desired effect. So we need to be switched on, body and mind, all the time, and be riders, not passengers. Don't think the horse will sort it out for you. You have to guide it and ride it.